Hello, welcome to another in-engine developer diary. In this uh, developer diary, I'm going to talk about the lighting effect and how it works from a programming perspective. And so a good way to illustrate that is using our little in-game tweaker. I can change different elements, and so you can see how it works. So, I guess the last and most interesting step is we render a bunch of stuff to a grayscale buffer, and then we use this interesting crosshatch shader thing on it. To give you an idea of what it looks like, what the grayscale buffer looks like, I can show that. And so this is what we're using for the lighting effect. And so from this, we generate the lines. And so we can go back to the line view. And then you can see there's actually two different planes of lines animating, so I can speed those up. Wow, it looks terrible, but you can see there's basically two things scrolling there. I think that's where it's supposed to be. What are the elements that make this up? So there's a few different things. One of the coolest elements is the ray traced player shadow. So if you look, there's a shadow that follows the player. I think that some other rooms have a better example of that. So let me just exit here. Yeah, you can see from two, it goes up to 3 light sources, and so let me turn on some stuff to show. So that actually is projected onto a well, it uses the light sources position to do a ray trace for the shadow. So we have a little 3D world in which we do the ray tracing. So let me just turn that on. So here's the green thing is the floor, and we have little cutouts on what we cast the player shadow, like for this table. That was a new feature. And then let's see, can we draw anything else cool here? Oh, but there's some other neat stuff that we can draw. I can't seem to find it. Maybe I got rid of it, but basically, yeah, we have the player rendered to a grayscale buffer, and then we use that to do the raycast against, and we have the light sources are all assumed to be on this wall, which is in 3D space, and just as a debug thing, we can tweak the, oh, I guess it doesn't work anymore, but basically you can sort of look around in debug mode. Let's see, so let me show you the other elements that go into this. So where did you go? So there's the lighting. So this is basically, uh-oh, I got an assert here. But basically this is you can turn on and off the lighting so you can see what the world looks like, although it asserts when I turn it back on. But there's also like the player shadow. You can turn that on and off and see that. And then there's the object shadows. And so for the object shadows, we do that to a different pass, and we basically render the objects, and then we render the shadows and then the objects on top a second time as white, just so the shadows appear behind the object. And so we do like drop shadows for the pictures, and then some of the other ones the artists actually make a shadow texture. I wanted to use Z-buffer tricks for that, but since we do all the lighting effect at a lower resolution, you can't use depth textures on OpenGL ES on Ouya, which is where I wanted to do all the optimization, so that didn't work. Some other cool stuff. I can find it. The lights. Oh, let's see what I have for the lights. But the lights have a. The lights are basically glow cards that render to the lighting layer, and then we also apply a blur to the lighting layer to just give it a little better edges, especially on the shadows for the player. So if I can find it, I can turn the blur off. Apparently I can never find anything when I want to. So there's the blur off, and so you can see that a lot of the shadows have these very hard edges, which looks pretty lame. So the blur definitely helps with that. So the other cool thing we did with lighting is no, sorry, wrong one. These things. So basically these lights actually work as a projected light. So it casts on the player, and then it casts on the ground, and then the player leaves a shadow as well. So there's a number of different things going on there. I don't know, a bunch of shaders and cool stuff. Let's see. So I have some tweaks for that, I think. Somewhere. Oh my gosh. I'm choking. Here it is. So... wait. I turn that off. So this is the shadow caster right now. I could definitely clip it instead of a full screen buffer. I could do it much, well, maybe not much, but more cheaply by, you know, cropping that down. That's on my to-do list. And then here is the frustum for the lights, and so I'm doing something kind of interesting in that they're basically all centered around origin and then translated in device space, because otherwise then when you walk across the screen the lines get crooked. And so the frustums aren't very interesting, but you can tweak the angle and see what they look like from a different perspective. And then so then we can actually see, give me a sec, if I didn't lose my tweak. Here it is. So we can see the different elements. So there's the drawing on the floor part. Well, let's turn everything off. So there's drawing on the player, which basically intersects the player with the frustum and then projects a texture on that, because the window pane is actually a texture. And then on the floor shader uses the player and then does the ray cast. And So those are sort of the elements that make that up. So it's pretty cool. Because it's I'm doing like 3D effects in 2D and then a bunch of work to make them look 2D. So I think that's all I have for the lighting passes. But it's definitely fairly technically involved, all sorts of shaders and stuff that I just sort of made up because I wanted to create, this feeling of light and darkness that really feels alive. I think that the animated darkness really makes it feel more like a character, more threatening. And so then but I wanted it to feel like real lighting, even though it's only in 2D, which is why I incorporated all these 3D elements. So I think that's all I got for this one. Thanks for listening or watching.